My name is Dr. Karin Tollefson-Hall. I teach art education. I'm an associate director in the School of Art, Design, and Art History at James Madison University. We might still have a few more people jumping in, and that's okay. Welcome to everyone. What's going to happen in this session is I'm going to start with a short presentation about general information regarding the school and admissions and the different degrees that we offer. And after I finish that portion, then I have 5 amazing students here that I will introduce, and they will have them introduce themselves to you, and then we'll have a lot of time for discussion and question and answers. There is a Q&A box on the side for where you can enter questions. If you can't see that, you might want to push along the bottom of your screen where the buttons are for chat and muting and unmuting and things like that. There's one for Q&A. So if you want to click on that, it'll bring up a box. You can answer questions there. With us besides the students, we have Joe Manning from the Office of Admissions, and also Sheena Ramirez, our recruiting specialist for the College of Visual and Performing Arts. And so they will be also answering some questions throughout the session related to admissions and maybe auditions, portfolios, things like that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into these slides so we can get through to the part that I'm sure you really want to do, which is hear from students. So I'm going to switch out here and share screen. All right. Sorry, let me adjust a few things so I can see everything at the same time. So again, this is the School of Art, Design, and Art History at James Madison University. We are accredited by NASAD, or the National Association of Schools of Art and Design. The School of Art, all of our majors have been accredited since 1981. NASAD is the only accrediting agency that's recognized by the U.S. Department of Education for schools of art and design. We have 3 main facilities: Duke Hall, which is where we hold classes in studio art, art history, and art education. The Studio Center, or Design Center, which is where we have the graphic design, architectural, and industrial design classes, as well as book arts. And Memorial Hall Arts Complex is where we house mostly photography, and we also have a papermaking studio as well. We have 5 galleries on the JMU campus that are run through the School of Art, and students can have internships and go to classes and see invited guest artists at each of these locations around campus. So Artworks is a student-run gallery that exhibits work by undergraduate and graduate students only. Duke Hall Gallery of Fine Art is our professional gallery on campus, and it has rotating exhibitions from national and international professional artists. The Lisenby Museum is where we have the Madison Art Collection for campus. New Image Gallery is photography and contemporary art. And Prism Gallery, which is in the Festival Center over on the other side of campus, is a space dedicated to work emphasizing aspects of diversity. In the School of Art, we have 35 full-time faculty and 13 part-time. Average class size is 12 to 18 students, with the exception of a few of the general art history classes that you might have in your freshman year. Everything else, you're going to have a small class of 12 to 18. Right now, we have about a little over 560 students in the entire school. All of our faculty are also professional artists, designers, and art historians in their own field, publishing and making work. So for admissions, probably one of the things you're most interested in, prospective freshmen and transfer students are required to submit a digital portfolio on SlideRoom if you are interested in the majors of BFA in Art Studio, Architectural Design, Graphic Design, and Industrial Design. The deadline for the submission of those portfolios for this year, November 20th if you're early action application, or February 7th. And that comes just a little bit after the JMU academic deadline. This is a separate application that you're doing in addition to the JMU academic application through admissions office. Transfer students have their own dates you can see there, as well as change of major. Portfolio is not required for students who want to declare a BA or BS in Art Studio or the BA in Art History. Anyone can declare those 3 majors. So at James Madison University, all majors and all degrees begin with 41 credits of general education. So that's the liberal arts studies core of the university, which is going to give a well-rounded experience in a lot of different disciplines. So beyond those 41 credits of gen ed, if you're looking at how the breakdown of these different degrees, because the School of Art offers 3 degrees, the BFA or Bachelor's of Fine Arts, and you can do the BFA in art studio, graphic design, or architectural design. So in those majors, you take the 41 credits of general education, and then pretty much 78, or basically all the rest of your credits, are in art or design. With the BA and the BS, these are a little bit more flexible open degrees. So you will have the 41 credits of general education, 45 credits in art, and then you have or 39 for art history. And then the rest, which is somewhere in the 20 to 30 range, you have for university electives. So for a student who maybe wants to be a double major, have a very related but different minor, or wants a little bit more flexibility and openness in other classes beyond just their art studio, they're going to look at the BA or BS. Industrial design is a BS, but it is like the BFAs in that it has gen ed, and everything else is industrial design. There aren't any university electives with that. With any of these degrees, you can also add K through 12 teacher licensure. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. If you're not sure what the difference is between a Bachelor's of Arts and a Bachelor's of Science, this is where foreign language and math and science come in. So for a BA degree, anybody on campus who is getting a Bachelor's of Arts has to have foreign language. Anyone who's getting a Bachelor's of Science, they take 1 extra math and 1 extra science class. So those would be the difference in the choices in studio art, whether you wanted to do foreign language or extra math and science, if you were again looking at those more open degrees that allow flexibility in university electives. So here's some examples of work that we'll get into here. If the BFA in art studio, you would choose a concentration. And the concentrations that we have are ceramics, fibers, metals, painting and drawing, photography, printmaking, integrated 3D, and sculpture. And I'll show some individual images of each of those concentrations as we go. In graphic design, students will study computer graphics, of course, also design methodology, typography, brand identity, web design, interactive media, and then they finish their senior year with a capstone portfolio class that prepares them for being employed. In architectural design, and these are obviously some images of things that happen in student work and some of the spaces that they work in. You will study architectural history, studio classes with methods and materials, computer modeling, and as well as professional practices in architecture. Industrial design, they have their own industrial design studios, and then they also cover topics like product design, the history of design, transportation, systems and services, social innovation, and entrepreneurship is a big part of the industrial design degree. So all of those design areas, graphic, architectural, and industrial design, all include a second portfolio review that you would complete at the end of your sophomore year. So after you've taken the introductory levels design classes, the review is just of the work that you've done in those design classes, and it's to get approval to move on to the 300 and 400 level, in other words, your junior and senior level classes. So art history, we do have a degree in art history. In that, you would take a wide variety of historical classes, including non-Western, pre-Renaissance, modern, contemporary. You do take 2 studio art classes, and it is a BA, so it has foreign language. With art history, you could also choose to have a museum studies concentration. And that concentration only works with the art history major. So at JMU, we have Wayland Hall. It is our arts living learning community. So this is a special dorm that only has students from the College of Visual and Performing Arts. So that means art, design, art history, theater, dance, and music. Students live there together. There are spaces in the building for working on your artwork, practicing. There are pianos. So they have some classrooms in there. Students like to be able to just go downstairs for an early morning class. So it's a beautiful building. Here's a few pictures of the outside. It is a LEED certified building. This is one of those practice rooms there in the bottom image. So everyone in studio art and design at JMU starts with foundations in their first year. So this is a series of classes in 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional design, drawing 1 and 2, and 2 basic survey of art history courses. So no matter which of the majors you pick, everyone starts with those same 6 foundations classes in the first year. And here's some images of student work. So there's some examples from 2D design, drawing 1, drawing 2, 3D design. And so graduates from studio art, so you can see a list there. I won't read through all of these, a list of some of the different careers those folks are enjoying now. Many students go on to MFA programs around the country, as they might be educators that they finish an art education license with me, or they work in all different capacities as artists. And you can see through a couple examples there of some students, what they're doing now. So examples of work from each of those concentrations that I already mentioned. So ceramics, there's fibers. It's not just traditional fibers. You can, if you want to. We do have traditional looms and things for weaving, but we also work very contemporary with a lot of different variety of materials and sculptural and wearables and so forth. Metals and jewelry. Painting and drawing, those are together as one concentration. Photography, the photography studio has facilities for digital and wet process, in other words, darkroom, as well as traditional, historical, and some contemporary processes. Printmaking also has a variety, so you can do everything from intaglio, relief, woodcut, lithography, screen print. A wide variety of types of printmaking happen up there. And sculpture. So obviously making traditional sculptures, also doing installations and other kinds of performances and so forth. Integrated 3D obviously combines, if you concentrated in integrated 3D, you would focus on fibers, metals, ceramics, and sculpture together. So switching to architectural design, a lot of our architectural design students go on to graduate school afterwards to work on a master's in architecture. Some do go and are employed in architecture studios or firms right after graduation as well. And some examples of work from architectural design and students in their spaces. And graphic design, in the purple down the middle of the screen there, you can see a list of just a few of the design agencies and corporations that some of our graphic designers are working for. Some also go on to MFA programs. And you can see a list of some graduate schools there as well. And so graphic design, we have 2D, 3D, obviously, more traditional kind of thinking about package design, book layouts. But we also have web and interactive. That could be your focus if you're interested in things like user interface and user design. So industrial design, if you don't know what that is a blend of engineering and social science and business. So they're a little bit sociologists, they're a little bit engineers, and there are a lot of designers. So that's when industrial designers look at the things, study the objects and things that we interact with in life, and then redesign them to function better, to look beautiful, to be more user-friendly overall. And you can see that this program tends to work very well with, work very closely with a lot of specific partners. So typically each year or semester, the faculty engage with, as you can see some examples there, like the Department of Defense or the Department of Forestry, the City of Harrisonburg. So they find specific organizations or businesses that they partner with and do very specific design projects for them. So students get experience working with real clients as they go along and learn to design products. And a few examples of pictures from industrial design. Several of these were from a particular semester where they were working on furniture design with a furniture company in Northern Virginia. Graduates in art history, many of them get jobs in galleries and museums around the country. They might also work at auction houses or teach. And of course, many of them go on to graduate school as well. And you can see a list of some of those schools on the bottom half of the screen. Art education, like I mentioned, is available to any student in the School of Art, Design, and Art History. We compare it with all of our majors. We have 100% employment rate of our students who successfully complete student teaching. We have 3 minors in the School of Art. You could minor in studio art, and that is 18 credits. You take 2D Foundations and Drawing 1, which would double count with your major, and then 4 other studio elective classes. We have a minor in book arts, which I teach in this also. Book arts is an interdisciplinary minor between English and art, where students learn the whole process of making the book. You could print your pages, write your story, and bind it all together as a book when you're done if you would like to. And then we also have an art history minor as well. A lot of our students, and especially the BFA students, like to get the art history minor because it's just about 2 extra classes beyond the ones they already take in their major to get the art history minor. And again, there is a museum studies concentration, but that can only be paired with the art history major. So if you're a BFA art studio person, you can't take museum studies, but you could be an art history minor. And then last, we do have lots of study abroad opportunities. JMU has long-term, semester-long study abroad opportunities, which are really amazing. And those tend to focus on general education credits. But within the School of Art, and the programs change every summer because individual faculty propose a class that they want to teach or classes and a location that they want to go to. So these are just a few examples of some of the programs that have happened in past summers. Right now, of course, we're in a little bit of a holding pattern with study abroad. But we know it'll be coming back, and faculty are already working and preparing for programs that we will continue to have in the future. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen there and go back to our panel. So I'm going to call out the students and have them share with you who they are, where they're from, what they're doing here at JMU right now. So I'm going to start, I'm just going to go in the order that I see them on my screen. So I'm going to start with Haley S.
Hi, I'm Haley Stoup. I'm a graphic design major. I'm from Mooresville, North Carolina, and I'm a freshman here at JMU.
And Cheyenne?
Hi, I'm Cheyenne. I'm an architectural design major at JMU right now. I am from Alexandria, Virginia, and I'm a sophomore.
And Haley C.
Hi, I'm Haley. I'm a studio art major with a concentration in fiber arts. I'm a junior and I'm from Stafford, Virginia.
And Aly?
Hi, I'm Aly. I am a studio art and media arts and design double major with a minor in computer science. I'm a junior and I'm from Warrenton, Virginia.
And Zoe? Oops, sorry, Zoe. You're muted.
Okay, there we go. Can you guys hear me now?
You're good.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Zoe. I'm a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Studio Art with a concentration in painting and drawing. I'm also an art history minor. I'm from Front Royal, Virginia, and I actually came to JMU as a transfer student from Lord Fairfax Community College. I'm a senior and I graduate this December.
It's not coming up fast, isn't it? So now we have time for questions from anyone. You're welcome to either unmute and go ahead and ask them or put any questions you have in the Q&A box.
Hi, I have a question about transfers.
Sure.
We're not sure whether we're keeping our options open, whether to go to community college and then transfer or to go directly into the university. So how easy or not easy is it to transfer into a program such as these? My daughter's mostly looking at graphic design, but she's not sure. So I know the portfolio review is supposed to take place sophomore year. How does that work? Do they end up going an extra semester or two in order to complete the degree? How does that work exactly?
I can answer that, but I can also, do I have any students that want to add anything before I
Yeah,
I do? Go ahead.
Okay, so the way the transfer process worked for me was I was actually able to complete a lot of the general art courses, which were the Intro to Drawing 1 and 2 courses, the 2D and 3D design courses, I got a lot of those done while I was in community college, and they easily transferred over to JMU. I only had a few foundational courses to do, and then of course I had to do my concentration courses here at JMU, and only a few electives. So it usually takes about two years if you're transferring from a community college to finish up your degree. It took me 3 years because I switched one of my minors during my early spring semester. But yeah, the transfer process isn't really that complicated as long as you keep updating with your advisor at your community college and talk to one of the faculty at JMU about which classes transfer over.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. So in terms of graphic design specifically, as you're asking, depending on the community college, some of the community colleges around Virginia offer like pretty much all of our foundations classes. So 2D design, 3D design, drawing 1, and the survey of art history. If you happen to have a community college near you that offers that art block, I would definitely take that. That will help out. If you don't, if you're coming in with just the AA to cover Gen Ed, that's great. But it could be with graphic design, if you're doing all of the foundations as well as the major classes, it could take you a semester or 2 longer, beyond 2 years. And it was somebody who's graphic design. It was somebody graphic design.
It was Aly Stoup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm graphic design.
Yeah, we live in the Warrenton area, so it would be the Lord Fairfax Community College in Warrenton, most likely.
Yeah, so
Yeah, they're
I would,
really good with processes.
yeah, so
Oh,
check
sorry.
in. That's okay. Check in with them and see if you can take the art, and that will make a big difference in being able to progress along in a pretty reasonable pace with graphic design as a transfer. So I've got a couple of questions here in the chat, in the Q&A box. I'm going to start from the top and work down. If I have any students who want to jump in with these, you can. So the first one, how many students are in the industrial design program? We have right now is about 60 total in that major. So that's a pretty short answer. The second question there, my portfolio review is scheduled for November 18th. We are having a portfolio feedback day. And so how soon should I submit my portfolio in order to make sure that my reviewer has enough time to look at my work? There's the slide room, the portfolio that you're submitting for slide room that will be evaluated for admission is a little bit different than the review day or the feedback day. So on the portfolio feedback day, what will happen is you'll have a scheduled time with 1 or 2, I can't remember if we're going to have 2, but it'll definitely be at least 1 faculty member that you will have a Zoom or WebEx with, and you can show them your work on the screen by sharing screen or holding it up, or whatever works best for you. But you're going to actually show us the artwork during that meeting, and we'll have a conversation about the artwork. And if you want, the faculty member can give you suggestions on what to put in slide room. So when we typically hold these feedback sessions in person, sometimes I get students who have already submitted to slide room before the review day. A lot of them have not, and they're just kind of waiting to have the review before they make the final choice for what they put up. But I could let the students, that most of you have been through the slide room portfolio review process. So if any of them want to add anything on that process, feel free.
Personally, I submitted my artwork on slide room before I came to a portfolio review day, and I wish I had waited because I got a lot of really great feedback, and like I did still get in obviously, but my artwork would have been a lot better if I had done the review first and listened to their advice and incorporated it and then like submitted it after. So I'd recommend like having an idea of what you want to submit, but not actually submitting until after the review.
Anybody else want to share about your slide room or portfolio feedback experience?
Yeah, I think I can share a little bit of experience. So I actually got like a really brief portfolio review at JMU when I had a tour here with my senior high school group for our art class, and I got a little bit of feedback from one of the professors for some of the pieces that I brought in, and that kind of helped me a lot, because one of the areas that I got pointed out about was working on contrast. So as I was able to work on newer pieces to put into Slide Room, I was able to work on that. And also I also worked with some of my art professors in community college with helping me to choose pieces and also get feedback, so I would know which pieces to put in and which ones to improve upon. So that really helps too, to have another opinion outside of the portfolio review, to keep updating on your work and making sure that you have a strong enough portfolio with a good variety.
Now, between November 18th and November 20th, you might not have a lot of time to go back and do touch-up work before you submit. But that is one thing people do, is they get some feedback. They might go work a little bit more on some of their products before they actually submit those images. Did anybody else want to share, or we can move on to the next one?
I was just gonna say that I remember for like my review process, I was really nervous of like showing my work to the professors. I was like, oh no, maybe they're gonna be mean to me. I don't know, I'm scared. And I remember just like being so terrified. And then I remember like getting in the room and like showing her. I had a trash bag that I brought my art in. I didn't have a portfolio even. And I remember being so nervous and her just being so reassuring and everything. And it being just such a like really great process of just like confirming that I'm an artist and this is what I should be doing. So I would just say, if you're nervous for meeting with a professor, that all professors at JMU genuinely want to nurture your art creativity and everything. They don't want to be harsh. And if they give you any harsh feedback, it's just genuinely them trying to help you become a better artist. It's not in any personal way. So I would just say, if you're nervous for it, just don't be. They're so nice and they really just want to help.
Thanks. So the next question has to do with the difference between a graphic design major and SMAD, or the School of Media, Art, and Design is what that stands for. So the School of Media, Art, and Design is in the College of Art and Letters, and we're in the College of Visual and Performing Arts and Graphic Design. So what I can say, if you want a diploma that says graphic design on it, the only one that you're going to get at JMU is through the School of Art, Design, Art History. School of Media, Art, and Design is more focused on kind of marketing journalism. So if you are interested in doing designing only on computers, then maybe School of Media, Art, and Design will be up your alley or be of interest to you. There are no art studios in SMAD, in School of Media, Art, and Design. There are no studio art classes as part of that major. I don't even know that they take art history beyond gen ed. Thank you, Aly. So it is a very focused program that's a little bit more journalism marketing based. So if you're interested in a more well-rounded kind of graphic design traditional background, as well as being able to take studio art classes. So with the graphic design major, you'll take the foundations, which includes drawing 1 and drawing 2, but you'll also actually be required to take 4 different media. So you will be able to take sculpture, ceramics, printmaking, painting, drawing, and then you have 2 other electives. So you are, in total, you'll take 6 other classes from the School of Art. So if you want to still be able to take some more traditional art media along with the graphic design, then you want to think about the graphic design major instead.
I can add to that. I came in as a graphic design major, and now I'm a studio art and media arts and design major. I'm like familiar with both of the curriculums. Media arts and design, it's broader than graphic design, but graphic design I'd say is more thorough. So like in media arts and design, you can do the like graphic designy type ones are interactive design and creative advertising. And I'm interactive design, which I chose over graphic design just because I'm really interested in front-end coding and front-end development, and that's really what I want to do. And media arts and design lets me focus on that. But I kept the studio art major because I did also want that more well-rounded like studio art classes and art history classes. So I'd say it's like graphic design is more focused. If you know like design work is what you want to do, go with graphic design. If you're interested in more varied stuff, like you want to do journalism, or like you want to work on coding, or you want to do like video stuff, go with media arts and design, they're a lot more different and a lot more similar than you might think they are.
Yeah, thanks. I think that was very helpful. Here's a short one. I might want to double major with marketing as my first major. Do I need to apply with a portfolio? Remember, the portfolio depends on which art degree that you're looking for. So you could, if you declared a BA or BS in art studio, you would not do a portfolio. And actually those two degrees are a little bit more flexible in terms of double majoring. If you are thinking the Bachelor's of Fine Arts in art studio or any of the design majors, you would need a portfolio. And that would also be the full entire design major plus your entire marketing major on the side. So it would be very credit heavy. I will just say that right now, because you would be completing the 2 full degrees. Most of those classes are not going to overlap other than just the general education. So I'm going to jump, I'll come back to all these questions, but I'm going to pull to one for a second that I think the students will be, can answer very well, which is, have you had any internships? This is for the students. Have you had any internships and how are those experiences? Has anybody had an internship?
I was an intern at Duke Hall Gallery, and that was wonderful. I learned a whole lot about how to work the gallery. So first, let me tell you, Duke Hall Gallery is inside Duke Hall, and we have lots of artists from outside of Harrisonburg present work there, and they give presentations, and I think it changes every 2 or 3 months, something like that. And it was just a wonderful experience. Like, I got to see how the gallery is put together, meaning like how the artists bring in their work and then set it all up, basically. And that, let me tell you, is very, very cool to see. And then being able to like answer questions for people at the front desk and seeing how many people are like inspired or interested in the work that these artists present, it's a great experience for sure. And I highly suggest, like, if you guys decide to come here, that you do an internship at Duke Hall Gallery, because like the experience is just so wonderful. It's just such a great opportunity for us.
Thanks. So that's about on-campus internships. If you're talking about other kinds of internships, profession related, so a lot of the design majors, those students often get summer internships, maybe at a design firm or an architecture firm and so forth. And typically the faculty members help students find those kind of one-on-one if they're interested. So here's the big question. What jobs can you get with an art degree? All kinds of, when you say art degree, do you mind expanding? Are you talking specifically just art studio, or are you talking about any of the degrees that we offer in the School of Art? So if we're talking about the whole school, obviously the design majors are going to have, design specific. So maybe you're working in something related to architecture or graphic design. Studio arts folks are doing all different kinds of things. They might work with galleries, museums, community art centers. They might they might be practicing artists. They could be working as art consultants, art handlers. What else? Any students? There was a bunch of listed on the slides in there throughout the presentation. What am I forgetting, students? Who are some of the graduates maybe that what are they doing now that I've forgotten to mention? Teaching. We have a lot of students that about 30% of the school at any one time is getting teaching licensure. So a lot of our students are teaching.
I know, at least for me, I'm a studio art major, concentrating fibers, and I want to be a practicing artist. That's like my main goal, but I also really do love teaching. And so I'm doing the art education licensure program to get my teaching license to teach public schools. So my plan is to teach at a school for a couple of years, and I hope to eventually go to grad school because I'd like to become a professor. So I'll be able to teach as a professor and then still be able to be a practicing artist and have shows and make my work and still get to teach because I really want to teach. So yeah.
Thanks. So The next question is, how have the hands-on and interactive classes worked during COVID with not being able to have in-person classes? So first, I will add one disclaimer. In the School of Art, actually, we were able to get a waiver to allow our classes, to, if they could meet safely, to still meet in person. So we do have, like myself included, my book arts and my art education classes are still meeting in person, hybrid fashion. So I have about 6 students at a time in the classroom. So one day of the week, everybody's in person. The opposite day of the week, they're doing work online as we flip-flop back and forth. So that's how I'm handling it. But I can let some of the students can obviously talk about how their classes are going right now, whether they're in person, online, or some combination in between.
Yeah, so as a freshman, the 2 classes I'm taking right now is Drawing 1 and 2D Design. And 2D Design has been online the whole time. Drawing 1, we were going fully in person, and then after everyone got sent home, it turned into more of like a hybrid. So those who are comfortable to go in, she has split us up into 2 groups, kind of like what you just said. And you can go in with your group, or you can do it online, which she's made like really easy to like access as well. So like if you don't want to go in, it's pretty much the same.
And most of our the majors as well, even if your class is meeting in any fashion hybrid, you can have access to the studio space. So you could still be going in and working in the studios and with the equipment outside of class time, even though your class isn't meeting every day or even every week, maybe.
Oh, and also for the 2D design class that is all online, she still has open Zoom office hours. So if you ever wanted to actually talk in person, that's always an option as well.
Yeah, thank you. Well, most of us are holding virtual office hours. Cheyenne, did you want to add something?
Well, I was just gonna say that my architecture class, my studio class I'm in right now, has like 30 people in it. So my teacher's done a really great job of splitting us up into 6 working groups, and we come in for an hour or so and work with her and hear her critiques, her suggestions on what we do to fix our work, and then we leave, and then the next group comes in. So then we're always being exposed to the same people and not to 30 people. We're only being exposed to the same sex every week. So my classes have been working very well that way as well.
Well, Cheyenne, I'm going to have you take this next one too, since it's architecture. This person is asking, what kind of work makes a good portfolio for architectural design? Can you talk a little bit about what you submitted in your slide room portfolio?
Okay, you're gonna laugh. I submitted, so in high school, I was a huge knitter. So I submitted my blankets, my hats, my scarves, stuff that I had knitted was my main stuff that was in my portfolio. And then I had a few more orthogonal design drawings that were more squares, rectangles, triangles, that kind of thing. I did some of those. And then I also had some still life drawings as well that were done in pencil. But to be perfectly honest, none of them were very good. So I would put in whatever you consider it as personal, artistic, what you like, what shows who you are as a person and as a designer. And that's what they really want to see, is that you have a personal way of expressing yourself through your art, and how you can connect whatever that personal trait is to the architecture that you want to design later on. So
that's great. Thanks. Anybody else want to talk about portfolio review, what you put in?
Not me, but I have a friend who's an architectural design major, and she submitted a combination of photography, and she really liked to do those like 3D house designs, like on web applications, and she submitted those for her portfolio, which I thought was really interesting. I came in as graphic design. Nothing that I submitted for my portfolio is graphic design. It was like watercolor and pencil sketches. It's my understanding that they're really looking for potential and an artistic eye more than expecting you to already be a designer.
Exactly. What I always tell people, I get this question a lot with family visits and things like that. And we'll look at anything, quite honestly. So we don't expect students necessarily to have architecture, industrial, or graphic design experiences. Those are pretty rare in the high schools around the state. So really we're looking for basic artistic skill, what you're saying, how you can talk about the expression, the meaning that you're conveying in what you make. And again, that kind of your general compositional eye. So it could be that your architecture and you're submitting paintings and watercolors and ceramics. It could be just about anything. So it's totally up to you. It does not have to be work that you made in a high school class. We have a lot of students who applied actually didn't take art in high school. As you know, electives are limited, especially if you're a student who maybe is in like a STEM or band or chorus or something like that, that maybe visual art is something that you do at home on your own or through community classes or anywhere else, but maybe not in school, and that is totally okay too. There's no requirement that the work in the portfolio was made in a class, traditional class setting. It can be anything that you've made on your own. So no worries there. Next question, are there any merit-based scholarship opportunities? Yes, there are. So we do have a limited number of merit-based scholarships. We don't decide those scholarship awards until the spring, March, April, until after the academic admission, the regular admission date. So you could be admitted early action, but you might not hear a scholarship decision until much later in the spring, because we will look at the whole pool of both early action portfolios and the regular term as well when we're deciding scholarships. So if you want to be considered for a scholarship, you need to submit the slide room portfolio, and you also need to be part of a portfolio feedback. In other words, we kind of consider that an interview with a faculty member. So you need to schedule one of those as well. So we have a conversation with you as well as look at your portfolio. And there is on the slide room application, there'll be a place to put, to write a short statement. There is a box to enter a statement for the scholarship consideration. So make sure that you fill out the scholarship essay that's with slide room as well. If I missed anything, Michael or Sheena, our admissions and recruiters, please jump in on that one. So the next question is, do we need to include process and planning in our portfolio or just final pieces? It's good to see process and planning. I love seeing sketchbooks. A lot of times when people come in for portfolio feedback, and if they have their sketchbook with them, we'll say, like, show me that too. You can kind of sneak around the rules a little bit by if you make a collection of images, so maybe one of the files that you're uploading as an image actually has two small details of process or planning and also the final piece, but they're kind of uploaded as one image. You can give us a little sneak view into more images than just the 10 to 12 that are on there. So there's an insider tip, but sure, seeing processes is helpful. I will say on slide room too, besides the image, there will be a space on the side where you can give a title if you'd like. You can tell us media, dimensions, and then there's a box for notes or comments. And if you write a little bit about what the work, where you made it or what the work is about, that piece is about, what you're conveying in the piece, that's really helpful to us as well. So please use those boxes if you feel comfortable to give us more information about the work. And so next question has to do with art history degrees. So what would someone with an art history degree do in a museum? Sorry, the question just jumped on me. Are there specific jobs I can look into? So back in the art history slide, there was a list of works there. Does anybody, Zoe, since you're art history minor, has that come up at all? And have you talked about professions with art history in any of your classes before?
Like professions outside of university. I think when I was in museum studies over the summer, we talked about different internships at museums in the United States and in other parts of the world. And so those were like a few of the professions that I think were listed in that class. Not a whole lot of my other classes talked about like professions in art history. I think that might come up more with the actual art history major classes.
Cheyenne, how about you from Shan with the gallery internship, did you?
I do not know anything about
Okay.
the
It's okay. That's okay.
We're minor, I'm sorry.
No, well, so, but just about every single thing you talked about that you did with your Do Call Gallery internship are all things that someone could do in a museum working with an art history degree. So maybe you are, you might actually be doing the hanging, displaying of work. You might be designing displays. You might be making the material that goes, the printed text that goes next to it. We also have, we've had some alumni come back for the art history forum. Every year there's an art history presentation of student work and also an invited alum that gives a speech. And so I've attended some of those over the 12 years I've been at JMU. And so for example, you know, we've had curators, we have students who are now art handlers, people who are art consultants. So actually go out and, you know, recommend what people with a lot more money what they should buy when they're looking for a piece of art to invest in or for their home. They might actually, so an art handler, you might actually physically be the person who goes to a museum or gallery, you inspect the piece of artwork, you watch it get packed or pack it, you travel with it while it ships to wherever across the country, or maybe outside of the country, unwrap it, you assess it again, and then you're involved in the installation. So there's all kinds of small pieces of the job depending on what you're interested in, specifically in art history, where you might be working with objects of art in a kind of a traditional or a non-traditional gallery museum setting. I think we had someone else that was an art insurer. So in other words, a person who goes around and looks at art and then gives the estimate for insurance values based on their art historical knowledge of the pieces. Also working for auction houses. So it kind of depends on where you want to go. But there are larger museums, of course, you know, have a lot more staff. So there's a lot of individual jobs that could be done inside there.
Can I just say, I'm studio art, but I worked with Sarah Brooks. She's an amazing professor. You could probably look up her email and send her an email if you have any questions. She's fabulous. But I took her museum studies class, and that's just like one class I took in art history. And that entire class, just the one, we talked, basically the whole class was talking about different careers in art history. So how she had it set up was that she had a lot of JMU alums speak to the class like via Zoom, even though the class wasn't online, it was in person at the time. We mostly talked to them like over Zoom or over the webcam. And so we had a lot of people who were JMU alums who were working in museums and such. She focuses a lot on like art conservation in art history. That's something that she does like a lot and really pushes, and it's really interesting and very cool, especially if you're an art history major who's more interested in working hands-on with the art conservation, something that you might be more interested in. But I would just say, like, if you're interested in like getting a job in museums or like museum studies and everything, that I took one class with Sarah and I already feel like I know so much about museum studies. So like I would just say not to worry about getting a job. If you come here and you take class with Sarah Brooks, she'll hook you up. She also used to work at the Met, which is really cool. So like, just to hype her up.
Yeah, she worked on events and exhibitions at the Met before she coming to JMU. So we definitely have people experienced that can help you out with that. We are at just about 6:45, which is kind of our official ending time. I will stay on for a little while if there's any other last questions. Sorry, I see one more here in the Q&A box. Can you comment on how admission to the School of Art is tied to admission to the university? Wondering how much the portfolio and experience in art coursework is weighted against high school academics, SAT scores, etc. You have to make the JMU academic admission hurdle first. So that is, the academic side is going to get more weight than the art side. We do get a chance to make some recommendations or suggestions of people that we're interested in, but ultimately JMU admissions office academically has to make a yes for you before we can say yes in the School of Art.
Yeah, I would just add here to say that the the process is separate. So you're applying to the School of Art, Design, Art History, you're applying to the university. You can be admitted to the university and not be admitted to the School of Art, Design, Art History. You could not be admitted to the university, and then if you're, you may find out in feedback that you would have been admitted artistically, and then we continue to work with those students to potentially talk through the transfer process, if you are still interested in coming to JMU, and if you didn't match up exactly academically to the university.
That's perfect. Thanks, Sheena. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming and attending, and thank you to my student panel. All of your excellent reflections and suggestions and advice were very helpful. Feel free, again, my name is Karin Tollefson-Hall. I am listed in the faculty page on the School of Art, Design, Art History website. If you have more questions, feel free to email me, or Michael Penny is in charge of signing up for the portfolio feedback, and that those applications and dates and process is also on the School of Art, Design, Art History website. So please follow up in any of those avenues, and have a good night and take care. And thank you for spending time with us.